Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural, then talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week, leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
We did it!
Yay!
We made it to the end. We made it to the end. Well, I guess technically we made it to the end last week, but now we get to talk about the entire thing with our rest stop wrap up.
Nice. I'm excited for this actually because season 4 was really good.
It was.
Yeah, it was good. I was watching some of the commentary from Kripke just before this, and one of the things he said was that a lot of the writers were very involved in this season. He said particularly Ben Edlund in some of the last episodes. So he basically said, like, if you like it, it was me, like Kripke. If you didn't like it, you can blame Ben Edlund. So I'm actually not surprised. I was like, oh, that makes total sense that he was more involved in some of the story writing than maybe initially thought. Yeah,
I mean, we know that Edlund can write really good stories and somehow predict the future, as we've mentioned many times. So I think it was a good choice to have him come on and help with that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, one of the ones that they said that he was responsible for, I'm just getting straight into this. One of the ones they said he was kind of responsible for was Dean and Cass going to see Chuck in the final episode.
Oh.
Because initially they were going to have like this big like running away from demons thing. It was like really expensive and was like they were already apparently massively overshooting on that episode anyway. Mm-hmm. And he was like, why don't they just go see Chuck?
He would know the answer.
Yeah, exactly. So we get that really good line of like, you're not supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, thanks Ben Edlund for a good season. Just giving him full credit.
I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. If I ever get to go to, I don't know, a writers' convention and he's there, I'm just going to be like, can I hug you for what you've done for Supernatural?
Yeah. Not all the jokes were great, but the general thematicness that you did is pretty spot on.
And we can blame Carver for some of those jokes. It's fine.
We absolutely can, yeah.
You know, these episodes are a little bit different, a little bit shorter. They're just sort of talking about our feelings and thoughts and stuff about the seasons and particular episodes. So I guess we can get into probably the biggest thing is our favorite episode of this season.
This is really hard. Like I've been thinking about it for a few days actually, because there are many good episodes in this season. Mm-hmm. There's Lazarus Rising. I do like Monster Movie. I do really like On the Head of a Pin. I don't know. It's so hard. So hard. I think just because of the thematic free will and like Cass finding himself, I think On the Head of a Pin is probably my favourite episode. There's just so much to talk about there. And I don't know. It's really well shot. There's something about that episode as well that's like really nice to watch.
Yeah, that was definitely the one that we're like, this looks and feels like a movie. Like it feels really well done. That they put in a lot of effort into producing that episode.
And like Alistair finally dies. Which, as much as I love him as a character, like I'm glad when he dies. Every time I watch it, I'm like, yeah, he deserved that.
And what's so funny is that Alistair's only in 3 episodes, and it's instant hatred for the man or the demon.
I mean, yeah, all the actors that portrayed him did such a good job. I mean, the last actor that portrayed Alistair did the best job, I have to say, because he's the one like your voice his voice, you remember it in your brain, that like drawl that he does.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's such like a devastating episode for Dean as well, but he just plays it off. I don't know. It's a good Jensen episode. I think that's part of it as well. I mean,
that hospital scene at the end where he's like find someone else and his voice is so weak and like you feel the amount of pain that he's in emotionally and physically.
Yeah, exactly. And like I think you can go back to that moment like over and over again with all the stuff to do with like being possessed by Michael and all the things that go with the apocalypse and pretty much the rest of Supernatural. You could go back to that hospital scene with like, I don't want any of this, screw you kind of thing. It's like,
yeah,
Yeah. I didn't pick a happy... Normally I pick a fun or a happy episode, and this time I'm like, no, I like that really dark, depressing episode that's like mostly in a torture basement. Yeah, that's the one for me. Also, it does have that... This episode. It does have that one scene of Cass stood under a like flickering light bulb, which is my absolute favourite shot of all time, I think, in Supernatural. I'll probably say that again at some point. Like, this is my absolute favourite.
I'm sure they're going to be... someone could probably compile how many times we said this is our favourite moment of Supernatural. It would be like 50 things. It's fine. We can have 50 favourites. It doesn't have to be one.
I don't know. There's something about like... This is what I miss about later Supernatural, is that they made the angels quite grungy almost. Like, there's a lot of like flickering motel signs, like neon lights and things, like halos being replaced with street lamps. It's all very, grungy is the word, or urban, I guess. Mm-hmm. They take them, they're not as like celestial. It is kind of like how Uriel complains in this season. They're being like brought down to earth, and you kind of see it through how they change their environment when they appear and stuff. Yeah, I really enjoy that. And I think that shot is spot on, like showing how they fit in with the earth in Supernatural. And they lose that kind of mysticism later on, which I'm really sad about.
It becomes very much like, you're an angel, kill you. You're a demon, kill you. Like, it's... They lose the, like, gravity of killing vessels.
I feel like Cass, even when he's like heaven, he's leading heaven, feels just like middle management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rather than like an all-powerful angel at times, which is a shame. But I don't know. I'm saying On the Head of a Pin. This is my favourite episode of the season.
It's funny because I'm also choosing a pretty depressing episode.
I mean, season 4 is actually quite dark and dingy. If you compare it to the first 3 seasons, I think actually it is quite dark. Yeah.
But I feel like the expectation is to be like, oh yeah, Yellow Fever, because it's so funny. But like Yellow Fever has so many plot holes in it, and it just kind of generally doesn't make sense. That it's like it's funny to watch, like it's a good one-off to watch, but like that's kind of it, and whatever. But so my favorite is actually Sex and Violence.
Oh, that's a choice. No, that's a good choice. Yeah.
The argument that they have in that episode, I don't feel ever really gets resolved.
No.
And it's such a turning point in their relationship as brothers. Visually and stuff, it wasn't as good as some of the other ones, but I feel like thematically and like just the acting on it as well was just so good. And having maybe I'm Chuck, because having the brothers fight was just really good. Like, look at that.
That's good.
There's just something about it, that episode, that I'm just like, yeah, that's the one that really shows that they can be separate people. And maybe it's not for the better.
I mean, you're right. There is the fight at the end. And although we have seen them fight before, I don't think it's been that vitriolic, because it is in that episode where you actually feel like they're telling the truth.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, we've been talking about like a wedge being driven between the two. And I feel like that's when it was like, when you pounding in a wedge into something, it then breaks. That was for me where it hit the surface and was...
That's the split. They split that log.
Yeah, they split that log.
Yeah. Also, confirmation of bisexual Dean Winchester in the episode, because I mean, why did he have a male siren? Still no explanation there.
Yes.
And they tried to play it off as like, oh no, he wants a better brother.
Sure, Dean. Why did none of the other victims want a platonic relationship? Anyway, whatever. No. We talked about that at length. We certainly did, and we could forever. My favourite Dean moment of the season, though, is in Jump the Shark, where instead of acting like John when he confronts Adam, he's acting like Bobby.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. The whole episode about, him confronting everything John Winchester, and he's decided to look to a different father figure to get his answers. And I just love that.
It's a nice little character development moment. You're right, actually. Oh, that is good. Oh no, that's emotional.
Oh. Well, to bring that completely down, I'm going to say his worst moment of the season.
Okay.
Is when he calls Mary a babe.
Oh yeah.
No. That I no.
Well, yeah, 100%. That is possibly, yeah. No, you're right, because that's just. I mean, he does say straight after, like, "I'm going to hell."
And I guess that's the payoff, right?
Yeah.
That's the funny, to go with the gross, but you don't need to do the gross.
Yeah, you're right. Oh God, I've forgotten about that, and I literally just like watched it again recently. Oh, what makes that comment worse is that the Winchesters is on soon, and like narratively, like Dean is telling that story, and it's like I remember that time I went back in time, and I was like, oh yeah, Mum's a babe. Is that going to colour that whole retelling? Oh,
I hope not.
no, surely not. Favorite Dean moment? There's so many in this season, like where he's so vulnerable and open, and oh man, I think it's got to be when Dean's trying to convince Cass to be on their side in the last episode in Lucifer Rising, in the room.
Oh yeah, that like head thing that he did.
Oh
yes, yeah.
Yeah, like catching Cass's gaze, like while he's talking to him. Yeah. And just talking about, like, you know, that he'd rather be human than anything else. Like, why would they want to be angels? Why would they want, like, heaven to win this war? Like, what is going on? And basically just telling Cass, like, no, you want to be like us. Like, you want to pursue for free will. Like, you want to make this decision. It's a really big, it's big, and I love it. And I like the way it's shot as well. It's like really close in and I don't
intimate.
know. It is intimate, yes. And I mean, it's a defining Cass moment too. It's not my favourite Cass moment of the season, which we'll talk about in a minute. But it's, yeah. The free will destiny moments get me. I mean, I quite enjoy like The Witcher as well. So that has the same sort of themes of like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be tied into your destiny, even though you are. It's like a constant side struggle against it. Worst moment? I mean, I don't. There's some doozies in there.
I was just like, you know, I was thinking about this Bobby moment, and for some reason that came to mind. I was like, yeah, I need to mention that because that was just despicable.
I think I have the worst one though. Is the worst one not the like, which girls are legal at the school they're teaching at?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, there was some real bad Dean lines in this season that I don't feel like were really as bad in seasons 1 to 3. It's like they turned the dial up to 11 on the creep factor.
Do you know who wrote both of those episodes?
Was it both Carver? Jeremy Carver.
Yeah.
Jeremy Carver, you have explaining. He has some explaining to do.
Yeah, like no.
No, sorry. I think we said before, it's like early 2000s, late 90s stoner humour. Yeah. I do feel like he got past that, because I've watched Doom Patrol recently, and I don't feel like there's as many off-color jokes in Doom Patrol, and that's completely like produced and written by Jeremy Carver. So, hey, look, character development for everyone, all around.
Writers and all.
Yeah. And then I guess Sam moments of the season. Again, like, I think to be fair to Sam, he had a really good character arc over this whole thing. I think my favourite moment... See, I'm tempted to say something from the last episode, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. Is Is it really bad that just the expression on his face after he drinks that lady in front of everyone? That's my like one of my favorite Sam moments of the season.
What, in the rapture?
In the rapture, like, look what I've become. Yeah, Jared did a really good job with Sam this season. I don't think we really talked about it enough because I feel there was a big character arc here. I think more so than Dean, actually, where he's gone from sort of like having this addiction to blood to kind of like accepting it to kind of realizing that he's going to have to sacrifice himself and has to become a monster really to like save the world. But I feel like that's it's really bad that I pick it as my favourite Sam moment because I feel like this is a real low point for him.
So I was having the same trouble. Like Sam and Jared moments are sort of merging.
Yeah.
For me, even though this season was basically all about Sam, it was all about Dean. It may be because of us, like our perspective.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, I also had like, but that it is a good moment though.
It is, right? And I don't actually think that I have a bad Sam moment in this season like I do for Dean. I don't think he made any inappropriate comments. And I think he was generally an all-round good guy for most of this. So do you know what, Sam? Because we don't talk about you enough, you don't get a terrible moment in this season. I'll give you two good ones. I think that moment where he like, and just the acting there because he looks like, it's really good. He looks like, oh yeah, like I finally got what I needed to get. But then like the realization on his face that he did that in front of everybody and like what that actually means, it all comes across in about 2 seconds. It's really good. I think my other favourite Sam moment is when he decides to grab Ruby so Dean can stab her. I think it's just a really cathartic moment of like him realising that she betrayed him, and so like yeah, I wonder if he ever regrets that like Sam, not how he feels about Ruby afterwards, because they did kind of care for each other in a weird sort of way.
I'm sure it's like recovering from any abusive relationship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way you could really kind of look at it, because the entire time she was manipulating him.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he would be very, very conflicted, but we don't really get to see too much of that. Well, we may do it, but I can't recall really see him dealing with that.
Yeah. One of the things actually that they said on the commentary was how much flack Genevieve got from fans for being on the show. Like apparently she got like loads of issues for being on the show, which again, like there were other people introduced this season as well. Like Misha was introduced this season. They didn't mention that at all. It was mostly saying that it was directed at her, and it's really like unacceptable.
Yeah.
And a poor legacy for this fandom, I feel, of how they've treated like especially like female guest stars. Because she did a really good job as Ruby this season. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's like people get weird when their character's fallen in love with someone else, or like whatever. Like, no. And I guess what makes it worse is like they started dating after that too.
Yeah,
like, it's gotta feel really. Ugh, I feel sorry. It's such a shame.
Yeah,
but I'm glad she did come back in season 15. Because this fan reception was so much better. I
hope that was the case as well, and like how that was received, because I was like happy to see people come back. I think apart from Jenny the Vampire, that's not the actress' fault though.
that was writing.
She was getting paid, like she was doing her work.
Yeah.
She had to come play Jenny the Vampire.
Yeah, another good comparison is looking at fan reception then versus now is like looking at Eileen. Like how many people wanted Eileen to be the blurry wife?
That's really true, actually. Yeah, I think it definitely did change in later seasons, which is good. I'm good. I'm glad the fandom progressed on from that, because like, yeah, man, it's real weird.
It's weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, so Annabelle, like, what was your favourite Sam moments of the season then?
So again, another kind of depressing one,
Hey.
and it's his conversation with Chuck in
Oh, I knew you'd bring this
the
up.
yeah, yeah, because it's so horrible, but it's so great.
Yes, it really is.
Like he doesn't call it an addiction, but I feel like this is when he's realizing blood drinking has become an addiction.
Yeah.
And then, saying, I wish to God that I could stop. It's just saying it. It's just like, it hurts my heart every time. The conviction that he has it's misplaced, but admirable.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying so hard to save the world, but he's going about it all wrong. And you're just like, want to give him a hug and be like, no, somebody out here likes you. Don't worry.
Yeah, with Chuck, it's almost worse if he is God and he knows he's God at this point, with Sam saying to him, like, I wish I could stop, like, directly addressing him, and just like how uncaring and unfeeling a God he is by literally saying, like, well, do better. Like, that's basically what he says.
Yeah, it's just like, you're unsympathetic, so I don't care.
Yeah. It's almost better storytelling if we're going to get into this again, and I'm sorry for bringing it up again, if Chuck was God all along, because it really does play into their anger when they find out what he is, rather than him just being like absent. But right. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to watching those scenes again. There's a specific scene with Dean confronting Chuck and basically comparing him to John that I really want to watch again after watching The Monster at the End of this book, and just comparing the two. I don't feel like Sam has that same moment of anger, and this really warranted that, and I feel like he should have got it.
But we've said this many times, Sam is always the optimist, so he's probably and his whole faith angle it's all about forgiveness, so you have to forgive the big guy, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, Sam's almost
and Sam also has like a slow burn anger too. Like I don't feel like it's as explosive. It is as explosive as Dean's, but it takes a while to get there.
I definitely agree with you. Like, his whole resolution with John, like, it takes so long. Like, I feel like by this point, Dean's already kind of resolving his feelings about John, like what he was actually like and how that affects his life. It doesn't get to Sam until the 300th episode for him to make those sort of same conclusions.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right, he is a slow burner. Did you have another moment for Sam, or was that it?
Well, okay, so the other one is probably where, like, he goes, it's almost not natural. That's always going to be great. That is always going to be great. But that was just writing and delivery, I think.
There's a gag, actually, on the gag reel, where it's in Monster Movie, where he's saying, like, maybe the sheriff was wrong and it's something that's not supernatural. I just love it whenever they say it. But yeah, I agree with you. We still didn't make those t-shirts yet.
I know.
I'm still not quite sure how.
Yeah. It's... Oh, I really do hesitate on it. I want to so badly, but I hesitate just because it is... Taken out of context, it's really bad.
Yeah, it's so bad. Oh.
That's funny. So I'm going to let you go first with your cast moment, because I have to think about this for a minute.
There's so many. I mean, oh gosh. There's so many.
There are.
Like, I could pick any single cast moment from this whole season and be like, that's my favourite cast moment. I guess. Oh, I rewatched, just to meander because I'm still thinking of one. I will rewatch the commentary for In the Beginning, and the exact words that Jeremy Carver used to describe Misha was a brick house stud.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I actually have one. I was thinking of, I just thought of one.
Yeah.
Okay, so my favorite cast moment is like in again from the monster at the end of this book, where he's like, if I could help you, I would. And this is, but I can't help you. But this is how I could help you. And it's just, I love the like roundabout way that he talks in that episode, because it's so uncast like.
Yeah.
Usually he's like talks in biblical speech, and then suddenly he's just like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If he's attached to an archangel, go do something about it.
It's the side eye for me. It's the yeah, iconic. I think. Okay, no, I think my favorite cast moment is, I picked a lot from the last episode. This one as well. It's just the look that he gives Chuck when he puts his hand on his shoulder. Because the actual, if he knew
what he just did. Yeah.
That was like, God. He was just like, excuse me, don't touch me. Cass would be mortified at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's really funny. That's actually great.
Also, no one really, what's interesting is no one really touches Cass in this season. If you watch it through, like, he doesn't, no other characters, unless he's being like manhandled or punched. No one really, he's quite untouchable, like literally. So for Chuck to just be really familiar and like put his hand on his shoulder and he's like, excuse me, how dare you, lonely mortal, touch the fabric of this trench coat. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And actually, so another one is probably from the Rapture, where he says, I don't serve humanity, and I certainly don't serve you.
The bitch you know.
That's such a good line. That's such a good line. See, that's what I mean by like the biblical speech. Like he doesn't sound like that when he's saying, "Go get Chuck."
Hey. Well, this is it. So one of the deleted scenes from On the Head of a Pin, they kind of, the whole spiel they have outside the door before Dean goes in to torture Alistair is kind of elongated. So they added some bits in, and one of the lines that Cass obviously said is, I got too close to the humans in my care, you. In the deleted scene, it then adds you and your brother on the end. So it's interesting that they cut that between the deleted scene and what actually aired. So I just thought it was kind of cool.
I mean, I can see that for this moment in time.
Yeah.
For them to cut it out, because we haven't really seen many interactions between Cass and Sam. So I feel like him saying you and your brother wouldn't really make too much sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. We haven't seen Cass's regard for Sam yet, although we kind of know he respects him a little bit. Yeah.
Like we haven't had those scenes of Cass and Sam just talking to each other.
Yeah, sorry to all those Sastiel shippers out there, like, you're on the real slow burn train here.
Yeah,
like,
right. Us lot, we got it super fast. You guys have to wait a couple seasons.
Yeah, that's true. But so many good. I mean, when they're talking in the commentary, whenever they mention Misha and Cass, obviously, Kripke keeps going, well, he's gonna be a regular guest, like a regular guest next season, guys. Like he's gonna be like, they knew how much the fans reacted to him. It's really interesting. They were talking about how he brought nuance and naivety to angels, which I thought was a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, I can see that.
There was one more line actually that to talk about. We don't really normally talk about Bobby moments. He doesn't really have many in this season.
No.
But one of the lines that was apparently cut from the last episode was, so family is the one true thing in a world full of crap. And like Kripke said that he cut it because it was too on the nose to the theme of supernatural, but he really stood by it and felt like that was it. That was the message that he was trying to send, which I thought was really interesting. And then he went on to say like, oh, and free will. So if anyone ever doubts the themes of supernatural, like Kripke has said it himself, it's family and it's free will. I thought that was really interesting to hear, like, actually outright in the commentary for the last episode.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's a really good point. To going back to listen to the commentary, you get, especially from Kripke and from writers if they're on it, the actors is an interesting insight from an acting point of view. But if you get the actual story, like the story writers, the storytellers, you get sort of more behind the scenes of what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And like you get to know about maybe some of the drama.
I mean, I think I said this in the beginning, because I think I had, for the episode in the beginning, to make that clear, Kripke had said that his 3 biggest influences were Sandman, Hellblazer, and American Gods. So for anyone who's not watching Sandman at the moment, like, go watch it and see what influenced Supernatural.
There's a few things in terms of like the story in this season and like things that we didn't kind of get answers for. One that's it's probably gonna, it's never gonna be answered and whatever, but it's Ruby's motivation. Like, just wanting to be the best demon, it's not good enough for me. For everything that she did, she wanted to out demon the other demons. Okay.
It does feel a bit lame, like, especially because of her relationship with Sam. And I do actually think that she does care for Sam in her, like, own twisted kind of way. I do, like, I feel there is some connection there. What that is, I'm not sure, but there's something. The only one I can see is that she's power tripping. So,
right.
Like, we know that she was a witch. So she was already trying to gain power, like, whenever she became a demon and died. And maybe that, I don't know, maybe there's something about demons that, I mean, this isn't explained. This is me making stuff up.
Right.
That when you become a demon, it almost, like, crystallizes, like, a main aspect of your personality. So if something very strong in her was, like, power hungry, when she became a demon, that became, like, her almost defining feature, because all she gets out at the end of this is that she would maybe be like right hand man to Lucifer.
Only because we have seen how Lucifer actually doesn't like demons, that we know that like that would never have worked. The only other thing, like, did she know that Sam was Lucifer's vessel? I don't think she did.
I don't know,
because going kind of to your point of like she actually cared for Sam. Well, if she found out that he was his vessel, was that because she would literally be that close to Lucifer?
I don't get the demon blood. Like, that's
right.
Like, right as well, because she could have definitely just worked on the powers that he already had. I feel like she could have used the same manipulation without the demon blood. But I feel like the demon blood and the Lucifer vessel thing is connected, so maybe she did know. I think we maybe get an answer in season 5, but I honestly can't remember. If it is, it's like a throwaway line.
Right.
So again, Kripke was saying in the commentary that from the moment they introduced Ruby, they knew that she was going to die at kind of later on at this point. Like, they always knew that she was going to betray them in some way. So they did know what they were going to do with her character. Like, not maybe like the nitty gritty details, but they had the basic outline. And that was 2 years. So you think, why were her motivations not maybe a bit clearer?
Yeah, and I guess the issue that I'm having is that because we don't have any information about who Ruby was to then form a hypothesis of what her motivations could be. Like, all we know is that she was a witch.
Yeah.
We don't know how long ago it was. Like, we don't know why she turned to witchcraft or anything like that. Like, that Tammy episode could have been more.
Yeah. I feel like she has kind of the same motivations as Crowley. I mean, as much as he's telling the truth, because you never know with Crowley.
That's true.
in that, you know, in his life, he seemed like he was pretty like downtrodden and no one of importance. So in his death, he was like, well, I'm going to climb as far as I possibly can and get as much power as possible just because I can and I'm awesome. That's basically Crowley's like motivation, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe that was Ruby's storyline, and they just transferred it over to Crowley when he came in.
I mean, eternity is a long time, right? If you're a demon, like, what else is there to do other than, you know, do Game of Thrones style, like, backstabbing?
Throw each other off. Yeah.
I guess this is it, right? Because I don't think demons are treated well in hell either, right? They're still tortured and put upon by higher level demons. So kind of the only thing to do is to have ambition to be at the top of the food chain.
Right.
And you have like millennia to do it. So what I'm saying is Ruby's motivation was boredom.
Yeah, it could be.
And you would have some resentment towards heaven. If you were a demon in hell, you would have a lot of resentment towards heaven, right? Why not me? Why wasn't I allowed in there? Like, maybe they feel that they don't deserve to be there. So to bring back the apocalypse, an apocalypse that you think you can maybe win, to have more power.
Yeah. And have free reign of Earth, so you're no longer in the pit. Therefore, you're no longer under the thumb of whoever's in charge of the pit.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's just coming from like my point of view, but I don't really follow very well like the power for power's sake storylines. Like, it's not just Supernatural, it's in like any kind of media. I'm like, okay, but once you get, I was thinking this when I was watching Kenobi, right? Because I was watching like there's Darth Vader and he's like sat in his like cold black spaceship. There's like this void, there's nothing there, and I'm thinking like, what did you actually achieve here? Like, what have you got power? Like, do you care about power? Because like it seems pretty boring. Like, what else have you got? Like, it didn't make like how it's a similar kind of thing. Like, what's actually Darth Vader's motivations? Oh, just to be like the best. Cool. Yeah. You know, like, it's the same thing, isn't it? Like any kind of villain story, it's just like, oh yeah, I just want to be like in charge and then go sit on like a throne somewhere untouchable.
But you're not though, are you? Because they all die.
They all die. Pretty antisocial as well.
Yeah, that's very true. That's true.
Yeah.
A couple of other things also was John really the righteous man? I mean, again, that's another answer we're never going to get. And I don't know if it's actually important, but it's just something that, you know, it was so thematic in that episode.
Yeah.
And like,
I don't believe it. And here's why. I think Chuck's obsessed with the Cain and Abel storyline, that it always had to be brothers.
Yeah.
I think Alistair threw that in Dean's face to mess with him. And if you follow the logic of like, oh, John could have been Michael, like he could have broken the first seal, etc., then surely Sam could have been Michael's vessel too, if you're going from like bloodline. And he's not. So I think no. I'm going to answer it for you. No, John was never the righteous man. It always had to be Dean because of like the Cain and Abel parallel. It was just to mess with him. I don't know. Do you agree with me, or do you have a different theory?
No, I think I agree with you. I do. I just want Dean to have the answer, and I think it is very good like story structure to not have an answer. So it's just always going to play on my mind.
They could have brought it up later, like in a later season, like, well, it would never could have been John. It always had to be you. Like, it's another point of anger for Dean that that information would have been kept from him for so long. So they could have tied it into their storyline with Chuck and everything.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of Chuck, was Chuck always God? And according to the poll that I did on that episode,
oh yes,
the answer was yes.
Oh, see, I don't know.
Chuck was always God.
I mean, I've read a few things on this because I also like read blogs and things, and I see the comments that people leave, and it seems like the overwhelming majority of people do believe that Chuck was always God.
I'm still with you that he wrote himself to be a prophet, so he became one. I love that theory so much. It's so good, and for you to think it up on the fly like that was amazing.
Thank you. I'm taking a bow. The thing is, like, because Kripke is so inspired by Neil Gaiman, that's completely something that, like, that's not a unique thought from me. That's definitely something that he would write. You know, that because you think things are true, they become true, is very much thematically in his work, and it would make sense for Kripke to take that on board. I mean, he does with the Tulpa episode. Like,
Yeah.
pretty much all of Supernatural is a Tulpa. Like, I that's what I think. Like, so it would make sense that God himself is also a Tulpa, because he believes something is true. I don't know. But yeah, that's my theory. Maybe one day I'll actually write up, like, coherently and put it up in the internet rather than just spewing it on a podcast. But, I mean, like we said, like, Rob Benedict's theory is that Chuck was a vessel for a god. So he wasn't God until he revealed himself as God, because that's when he took over the vessel.
Right.
But and up until that point, he was just a prophet, just a dude, which I don't think many people ascribe to, as we've found out. I love the fact that this is the relationship we have with Supernatural. Is like an actor can come out and say, like, I absolutely 100% think this of my character, and we'll just go, no. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, my theory does stack with the fact that Chuck was always God, so I guess I am agreeing with everyone else. It's in a different way.
So sometimes I go back and I'm like listening, I'm like, dang, this, like, after going through the episode and going back, I'm like, and listen to it again, I'm like, I missed such a good point. And the one that stuck out to me was from Jump the Shark. So I've already told this to Amy, so I don't know if she's thought about it or not, but we'll see. Adam says to Sam and Dean that when John found out that he had a son, he drove all night. And I think he made that up. I don't think that John actually drove all night to meet Adam. I think because Adam at that point is the ghoul, he doesn't know that John had other children because he only knows Adam's memories.
Yeah.
So he's saying to who he thinks are John's co-workers that this man was really, like, he loved having this family, and that he dropped everything just to come to meet him and, like, be with him. And, like, it's just unintentionally really cruel.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Sam and Dean realize that he made that up.
So your theory is that Ghoul Adam was making, like, some of the, I guess, details about John as a father up because he didn't necessarily have all of the information.
So maybe not everything. I think all the stuff that he said that he and John did, they actually did. Because obviously there's photographs of them.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
Yeah.
Game. He knows the car. And he knows about drinking beer and stuff. I think that's all true, but it's just this one particular line that is not true.
Yeah, because I guess everything else in Adam Milligan's life, so, like, if you look at the photos of him with John and stuff, makes out that John was a good father, right? Because you have these pictures of them smiling together and stuff. So why wouldn't he drive all night to, like, come and see him if there's something wrong? Whereas obviously we know the kind of person John is. If he had been on a case or whatever, he definitely would not have come.
Right.
So I can believe it that it was, like, made up, and that you're right. It's because at the point that he says it, he doesn't know that Dean and Sam are his sons. So it's very, I mean, the look on Dean's face, because, you know, like, again, Jensen Ackles, you can see the flashback of him, like, in his eyes, of him going back to home and him ringing John and him not turning up, or him dying in faith and them ringing him to say he's dying and him not turning up. You can see all those moments sort of, like, flash in his brain. as Adam says this. So, yeah. I know, I think you're right. I do, yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it adds to like the hurt of the episode, I guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't really add anything else. And, you know, I like to feel pain when I watch this show. So here you go. Have some more.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, like I do like the fact that the ghoul, by telling them details about John, just trying to fill in gaps to make him seem like a believable person, was just causing them horrible emotional damage.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there anything that happened like that for you while editing that you can think of?
No, I often do think of them though. Like, I feel like I got quite a lot off my chest this season.
I mean, a lot of our episodes this season are pretty long.
They are, yeah. There's been a lot to talk about. I mean, this is my favourite season because they introduced angels and stuff, and I think those are the storylines that I really enjoy in Supernatural. Which is part of the reasons why the episodes have been so long. No, I don't think so. I mean, I wish I could talk in a better way about how important free will is in season 4. I feel like I don't ever get it across as well as I want to. If that makes sense. But maybe by the time we get to season 15, I'll be able to talk about it properly.
Yeah, we got some time. It becomes very thematic. I do find it interesting that this season really solidifies that free will is a thing.
Yes.
Because, you know, there has never been sort of any external force to really challenge that viewpoint. Season 1 through 3, they keep falling into their destinies.
Yeah.
Now they're like, oh, here's what's causing you to have these destinies. And now you can start to fight it because you know what it is.
Yeah, exactly, right. And again, it seems to be like they try and break out of it. Like in the monster at the end of this book, which I know we talked about extensively, so I won't go too much into it. But they try and break out of their destiny, and they try to have some free will. And it's only through an outside influence, through Cass, that they're actually in any way able to do that, which I think is really interesting. It's almost like Cass isn't part of the story. Like he's been like placed there by someone else. And if they had ever written that as like Cass was almost like a free agent or put there by, I don't know, I guess you would, maybe Amara. Like, you know, if he had been placed by and someone who wasn't Chuck, it would have made sense, right? Because he is an outside influence on their lives that they don't manage to break the narrative without him.
Right.
I can't think of a time when that happens. I mean, I'll probably be proven wrong like immediately. But it takes him to do it, which I think is really interesting. And it's addressed, but I don't feel like that one speech from Chuck about Cass having a crack in his chassis, which I can never say that word, is it was a big moment, but more needed to be made of it because it was like, well, this has been happening since season 4.
Right.
And then it just wasn't really addressed by any of the characters as like, oh, Cass is the vehicle for free will in the show. But yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it more.
Considering Kripke has made it known that it is a theme. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. At least they're aware of it. Look, partly I was concerned that they wouldn't be aware of it. But they are at this point. He did also say that sometimes bad episodes get blamed on certain writers, but it's actually a collaborative process. So what I heard was we should blame everybody.
Sounds good. I mean, okay, you know, I was saying that Edlund's usually really good. He did do wishful thinking.
Oh, that's true.
So, yeah, that's a bit of a stinker.
Yeah. I mean, he did also write the line "kneel before Todd," which is one of my favourites. From that episode. But overall, that episode is... I still don't know what the moral of that story was. Like,
There wasn't one.
There wasn't one. Sam died. He actually killed Sam Winchester. Oh, maybe that should be my favourite episode. I mean, the bear, like, oh no, gosh, that is a, yeah, I think I'd erase that from my mind, like, honestly.
The leaving the shoes behind after getting struck by lightning's always just, that visual's just gonna stay with me forever.
It's my fave. I love it.
That's why he started wearing boots so his feet couldn't fall out the shoes.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you do actually look at Sam's shoes though, they're more like a slip-on. He doesn't wear the laces, I don't think. They're like a, what would you call it? A Chelsea boot. Yeah.
Yeah. What characters would you have liked to see more of? I have two.
I actually would have liked to see more of Anna.
Okay.
Because I feel like she just drops in and out once she becomes an angel, and she appears and it's like, I have something to tell you, and or like there's something going on in the background, and then it doesn't really get fleshed out. Like I feel they could have solidified her more as like a rebel angel, because Cass isn't really one at this point. He's on his way to like rebelling, but we could have seen Anna as more of a defining force in his rebellion as well. I think that would have been interesting. Especially because she's his sister. I mean, I know all angels are like brothers and sisters, but...
Sister and previous commander.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they had a interesting relationship that I felt could have been explored a lot more. And I do wish Cass was in the season more. Because, again, like, I feel there's big chunks of time missing. There's a familiarity that he ends up having with Sam and Dean that you don't see grow in this season. Right. At some point they start calling him Cass, and I wish I'd maybe it would almost been like a conversation about that, like some kind of back and forth about it. And also, you know, he does say stuff like, I'm getting too close to the humans in my care, but it's like, well, I haven't actually really seen much evidence for this. Like, you've helped them out a couple of times, but there needed to be more. Like, I don't understand why Cass is so emotionally invested in them, really. Yeah, I think that's the main downfall of season 4 is there should have been more moments with them fighting together and stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
What about yourself, Annabelle?
So as always, we could have done with more Bobby in this season.
Always.
But I understand why he's not. He's the glue, so that wedge would have been able to be stuck back together a little bit. So I understand why they couldn't bring him in so much. And honestly, I would have loved to have seen more of Unhinged Uriel. Like, I would have liked to have him to survive that episode on the Head of a Pin. And, like, I mean, that could have, you know, get rid of family remains, because we don't need that episode. That was rubbish. And have, like, a Cass, Uriel, and Anna situation.
That would have been cool.
And like what their like whole, maybe it would have given too much away in terms of like what heaven really wants, because Uriel didn't have to kill those angels because the angels were already on, like the upper management were already on his side.
Yeah, but he didn't know that. What would have been, I mean, Lucifer Rising is already quite a packed episode, so maybe I understand again why they didn't do this. But what would have been interesting is Uriel actually appearing in that church with Ruby and seeing an angel and a demon both working together to try and bring about the apocalypse. Like, he definitely could have fit into that storyline. I can see it. You know, they're both trying to get this thing to happen. And actually, you're finally solidifying, like, oh, yeah, both sides want this. We've just been pawns in there. I mean, Zachariah kind of just, he lays it out. But it would have been nice to see like a visual representation of that as well by him appearing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe having Anna there to take out Uriel like she did.
We could have had a whole showdown. Actually, like that would have been awesome. Like, I would like to have seen that. You know, you're seeing all the factions come together at once. Would have been really interesting. Because I do feel like they spent a lot of time in the last episode on Dean in that room, when maybe they could have used that time to maybe have a bit more exposition about how the apocalypse is going down.
yeah, definitely.
No, I agree with you. I think Uriel's really badass, and I'm sad that he's dead.
Yeah, I think back to that like deleted scene from that episode where he's like ranting and raving at Cass. I wanted to see that actually on screen. Like that was just great.
Yeah.
To see. The actor was really good. I really enjoyed him. So.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. He was really, yeah. There's watch the deleted scenes for On the Head of a Pin, because there's a extended moment between him and Dean where they're just sort of sniping at each other. Like Dean tells him to go get donuts. It's really good.
I remember that too. So I think we kind of talked about already, like, our overall feelings of this episode of the season. Sorry. Anything else you wanted to add to that?
I don't think so. Season 4 is very solid. Like, there are some doozies in there, you're right. I always forget about wishful thinking. I actually do think Yellow Fever is not that great an episode. I think it's overrated.
Yeah, it has funny moments, but not really. And it's only funny because it's such a juxtaposition to Dean as we know him, but like,
There's a deleted scene in Yellow Fever as well, which is also worth watching, where like Dean's freaking out in that hotel room, and there's like a creepy like child's voice like talking to him over that's like, "You're gonna die again, loser." It's really weird, and it's like completely out of the theme of the episode, and like, again, go watch it because it's actually hilarious. It's just like, why is there some creepy, like, it's like some kind of creepy boy talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, anyway. But yeah, there's some really good episodes in here. I actually, though, looking on to season 5, I think there are more good episodes in season 5 than there are in season 4.
And that's saying something, because really, there are not that many bad episodes in season 4.
No, that's true. So I'm really looking forward to season 5, but yeah.
We're talking about Yellow Fever and like his little freak out that he has outside of the hospital. I feel like at the time of the episode, I was like, do you think the gassy line was ad-libbed or written in?
Yeah.
And I feel like the gag reel confirms that it was ad-libbed, because they use that clip in the gag reel, and then suddenly it's like all these like moments of basically Jared farting.
It's so, this gag reel was long and so like directed towards like
Boys.
Teenage boys. I mean, I'm this is very much a generalization, but like, yeah, guys find fart humor funny. They just do.
That section was a little too long, I will say that.
Way
it was
too long.
It was silly. But overall, it was kind of fun. They used the song from the Magician episode, Chris Angel was a douchebag, like for the black and white section. I was kind of confused at, but okay.
Because they have the rights to it, they wrote it. It was an original score for the show, so yeah, that's literally probably the reason.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It was nice to see there were 2 Misha bloopers in the whole of the gag reel because he wasn't quite established yet. But one of them's literally like they're messing around. You can hear like Bob Singer being like, "Okay, stop messing around now, guys." Yeah, the gag reel was good. It was mostly just them making stupid faces.
Yeah.
My favorite blooper from this one is it's when Jensen has like a rope around his neck and he's all like acting and stuff, and he's like, "Wait, what's my camera?" And then like it automatically adjusts and starts doing it again like perfectly. I don't know why, that just really made me laugh. But I'm looking forward to more cast members now, because now we've got like a little taste. I want more cast members in the bloopers, so I think the season 5 ones, I'm really looking forward to them.
Yeah, it should be good.
Plus, I know season 5 has the Molotov cocktail, which is one of my all-time favourites.
So, okay, this is me putting it out there. Misha needs to come onto the boys. I don't care what character he is, only so that someone can teach that man how to fight.
Oh, the shade of it all.
Because I went back and watched the fight scene in On the Head of a Pin, and I was like, Amy wasn't making it up. He does do the Captain Kirk punch. He does the William Shatner punch, and I'm like, oh, Misha, like what? Oh,
I'm
what?
so sorry, Misha, comparing you to Bill Shatner. But yeah, it's the double fist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Molotov cocktail thing, like learning how to throw.
The thing is, it's the exact same thing as the blooper with the paper airplane where it's just like, throwing it to the ground. I mean, I cannot talk. I can't throw or catch to save my life.
But you're not an actor and it's not part of your job, so it's
true.
fine.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, I doubt it. I feel like he's just going to be like lawyer guy, but maybe on Gotham Knights he'll get to throw some punches and...
Yeah, but he's still working for a studio that didn't teach him how to fight.
That's true, and bless him. Even when you watch some of the later seasons, you're like, what are you doing, man? I love it so much. What's good is in Supernatural it works because like you feel like, oh, there's an angel in a vessel that maybe he's not used to, so that's why.
It's like, I only have 2 arms.
Yeah, where are my wings? So it's kind of fine. It works. Yeah. So shady. I'm so sorry, Misha.
You're apologizing for me. I love it.
But yeah, but I'm looking forward to more bloopers. I think season 5 ones are really good as well. I feel it, feel it in my heart. Other bonus features that were on this, if you have the DVDs, there's 3 episodes actually that have commentaries. It's in the beginning, like when the levee breaks, and Lucifer Rising. They all have commentaries, and there's also this really weird thing on there, which I'm gonna go back and watch. I didn't watch all of it because it was like long, but basically they've broken down some of the lore of Supernatural into heaven, purgatory, and hell. Which I thought was really interesting. I was like, why are they including purgatory in that? And if you click on each one, it has like things about angels, it has a thing about limbo, and it has like stuff about hell and demons. But they've really framed it like almost like a unsolved mysteries kind of. So they have people come on, paranormal investigators apparently, to talk about some of the lore and Supernatural and like the hierarchy of angels. And I watched the Purgatory one because podcast.
Right.
And the way they're framing Purgatory at the moment in the show is the space that, like, for example, Dean was in My Time of Dying, or like in what's the other one called from this
Death
this
Takes
season?
a Holiday.
Yeah, Death Takes a Holiday. So ghosts are basically in Purgatory, like that in between state. So it's a bit different to how Purgatory is obviously later on, but that's how they're seeing at the moment, like the ghosts are in limbo. But yeah, it's kind of interspersed with these quite serious paranormal investigator people, and then like Eric Kripke explaining what he thinks a ghost is. Like it's really, it's just kind of odd.
Is it not insulting to them? Because like I feel like when you start to explain that, because I haven't seen it, I was planning to watch it, but I just didn't get time. Had they not seen any of the episodes? Because surely like ghost facers is what they like the writers feel of paranormal investigators.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it doesn't come across that way, but it is odd. It's like these weird interviews, and then there's also like clips from the show of like explaining things and how they tied it into, I guess, actual lore. Yeah. If you have it, watch it. It's weird. I'm going to go back and try and like get some bits out of it and see what I can find. But yeah, why include this? I guess to make people familiar with like where they were coming from with some of the ideas.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a weird special feature.
I might go have a listen.
Yeah. But yeah, that was it for this season on the bonus features and stuff. Apart from, like I said, the gag reel, and there wasn't that many deleted scenes, and none of them were really noteworthy. Like nothing told us new information, really, to be honest.
No.
So yeah, should we wrap up this season then? I'm totally ready, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna be going into so just a little bit of an outline for the next couple of weeks. This is gonna obviously come out. This is out now. Next week will be our bloopers.
Yay!
And then we're gonna be taking a week break.
Yep.
To start season 5.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we got to the end of season 4. We made it. We're not quite a third of the way through yet, although it feels like it. So obviously we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his wonderful art on our podcast. Obviously, I'd also like to thank Jay, Charlie and Danny for coming on this season and providing us with some insight on certain episodes, particularly to Charlie, who gave us our longest episode ever, which is a doozy, but I mean, you know, Chuck, we have to talk about him. If you would like to send us any of your thoughts and feelings on this season, please do so. We're on all social media at Escaping Purgatory Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, but we're just Escaping Podcast on Twitter. So come say hi. We really enjoy having other people's insight into the season, or generally just supernatural, you know. Send us some content.
This week we set up camp for our little break that we're having through Purgatory, and hopefully next time we'll find our way out.
Bye.
Bye.